Hello and welcome to today's practice. Today we will be focusing on stretching, relaxation, breath work. So I consider this a more beginner practice, but that doesn't mean that some of the postures or things that we'll do won't be challenging for you. Very often they might be. It just depends on your age, your fitness level, your experience with yoga. But the idea of tonight's class is to give you an accessible practice and help build your flexibility and back health and all that good stuff. So we're going to start on our backs. So come on down to the mat, lay on down, and give yourself a little hug, give yourself a little rock from side to side, working out any kinks in the back that you might have. And then stretch your legs down below you, stretch your arms up above you. Reach in opposite directions, take a deep inhale. And then exhale. Go ahead and bend your knees, placing your feet on the floor. Let your knees kind of fall together. We're just going to take a moment here to kind of center ourselves. If you'd like, you can take your hands and place them on your abdomen. Go ahead and tuck your chin towards your chest. And just take some nice deep breaths, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose. If you don't like your hands on your abdomen, they can stay on the floor, wherever is comfortable. Just be comfortable for a moment. Just take a moment to focus on your breath. Watching your breath as it comes in. Watching as it goes out. And take a moment to scan your mind, your body. Notice your state of being. Be aware of any tension that you might be holding, be it physical or emotional. Notice where you're holding that tension. Notice that part of the body and try to breathe into it. And bring your awareness to that part of the body. And try to find calm. Try to find stillness. Even if you rush to come to your mat, that's okay. Take a moment to let your breath slow and find that place of stillness. Hello, ladies joining me. And then once again, let's give yourself a stretch, reaching arms down above your head, reaching legs below, pressing away. And then let's draw the right knee into the body. So we're going to do a series of stretches here. We don't want to stretch too hard these hamstring muscles when we haven't done anything. So I'm going to offer you modifications. If you find you're more flexible and you can do without the modifications, that's totally fine. So hug that shin, pulling it in, flexing the left foot so you're pressing that leg away. And then I'm going to do this with bent knee, which is the modification. If you want to keep that leg extended, it's fine. This is actually Pilates. It's meant to tone the abs, but by modifying it, it puts the focus more on the stretch. Your hands can be by your side, or if it's helpful, you can kind of sit on them a little bit. That takes some of the tension out of your back. And then extend the right leg as much as you can. So some of you might find it's more forward and it's more bent. That's fine. Straighten it as much as you can without forcing it. And let's just roll that ankle a couple of times. And roll it the other direction a couple of times. And we're going to make some circles coming across the body, down and back around. Nice and slow and steady. Inhale and exhale. So again, my focus now is less on the abdominal toning and more on the stretching of this hamstring. So just move that left leg so it's out of the way. If you extend it all the way, it really makes you work your core, which is fine. But I'm just modifying because I'm focusing more on the stretching of this hamstring. So it's just nice, slow, gentle circles. And then pause at the top and let's go the other direction. Just swooping it around. So you're moving within the hip socket, and it's just a nice, slow, arcing circle. So it certainly is not to say you won't feel this in your muscles in terms of, using them to hold your leg up, but we're thinking more about the stretching that is going on today. And then come to the top and grab hold of that leg, either behind your thigh, your calf, or as high up as you can reach. I do often suggest that you have a belt handy when we do these practices, because you can use that to help give yourself a stretch. Again, if you're more flexible and you want, you could extend that bottom leg, but what we don't want is to create all sorts of tension by doing that. So just be comfortable. And then we're going to point and flex the right foot a few times. And then bend the left knee again, cross the right ankle over it for a hip opening stretch. So we're going to sort of push away without using your hands. Just imagine pressing your knee away. So your ankle is here locked on your thigh, and you're just pushing away, trying to create some openness in here. Taking a couple of breaths. And then only if you want, lifting the left leg, grabbing hold behind the thigh, pulling that towards you, and if your arm reaches your right leg, you can press your arm against your leg. It might not reach, but if it does, and you want to give it a little push to open that up a little bit more, this should intensify the stretch on the right hip. So take some nice, slow, deep breaths here, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose. We're going to come back to this hopefully in a standing posture, which is more challenging. This is supine pigeon, so if ever you're in regular pigeon and it isn't working for you, this is a great modification. For me, it actually feels like it might do more hip opening than the regular pigeon, but regular pigeon has other benefits, the prone pigeon. Go ahead and place that left foot down, cross the right leg all the way over. We're going to go to a twist. So I want you to just lift and shift so that your left hip is on the floor, your right hip is already up in the air, and then just let those knees drop down and cactus the arms. If this is uncomfortable with your legs crossed, just uncross them and stack your knees. It's a little bit more intense to have legs crossed. And then turn and look over the right shoulder, which you're trying to press down into the mat. And again, if you prefer to have arms extended, you do whatever you want with your arms. I just happen to like the cactus, feels really nice on my shoulders. And take some nice deep breaths into this twist, noticing that breath going into this lung area where you're a bit constricted. Inhaling deeply to really work those lungs, expand them, building strength in the diaphragm. Exhaling, releasing more deeply into the twist. And then coming back to center, you're going to be crooked, so recenter yourself on the mat. And once again, hug both knees into the chest, giving yourself a little rock from side to side. And we'll do the same series on the other side, assuming I don't forget something. So extend the right leg long, pressing the right heel away, hugging the left knee into the body, holding onto the shin, and roll that ankle a few times each direction to loosen that up. So here with the leg bent, you're going to be able to more easily straighten that leg. You still might not get it all the way straight, but you're going to have, it's going to be easier. Once we straighten the left leg, that's when it becomes more challenging. So I'm going to go ahead and bend that right leg. Again, your option, if you want to challenge yourself and leave it straight, that's fine. Extend the left leg up in the air, again, endeavoring to get it as straight as you can. So if that means it's out here, that's fine. If it's a little bit bent, that's fine. Pull the belly button in, and let's make some big circles across. Nice and slow. So like I said, this is a modification of a Pilates move. So for me today, it's less about building core strength, although you are using your core for sure. You probably feel that. It's more about opening this hip here and giving you a stretch in a hamstring. Moving stretches, these dynamic stretches, can be really effective. And then when you're ready, reverse that direction. You can make these circles as big or as small as you want. Just having that right leg bent enough to be out of the way. Again, all the way bent is going to make this much more an abdominal workout if you want to do that. Those of you who did the Monday class probably don't want so much ab work today. And then pause at the top. Once again, grabbing hold behind the thigh, calf, or ankle. Again, option is to extend that leg only if you have the flexibility to maintain the integrity up here. If you find yourself arching and getting into this horrible position, then you're kind of defeating the purpose. Just bend your knee. And we're getting a nice stretch here in the hamstring without tugging too hard, without pulling and straining. And then we'll point and flex that foot. You should feel quite a difference. When you flex the foot, that really stretches the back of the hamstring, which is why it's good to do. Someone just popped on and then popped off. I don't know who that was. And then with that right leg bent, cross the left ankle across the thigh. So once again, just pausing here for a moment, pushing that left heel away. Hello, whoever just jumped on. I can't see you. Take a couple of breaths, opening up that inner thigh, opening up the hip. And then if you'd like to deepen this, grabbing hold behind the left thigh, pressing away. So again, if your left elbow or arm reaches your thigh, you can push that left knee away, but it might not. It just depends on your body shape more than anything. If you're more open and more flexible, that leg's going to be further away and be harder to reach. I am not, so I can push against it. And just take some breaths there. Notice if this feels different than on the other side. My left hip is always much tighter than my right. It's not good or bad, just something to be aware of. Taking some deep breaths. And then release that, crossing the left leg all the way over the right. Lift and shift so you're on your right hip with your left hip in the air. Drop those knees down to the right. Once again, option to cactus the arms, looking over the left shoulder. And again, if that's uncomfortable with your legs crossed, there's any number of reasons why it's uncomfortable, just uncross them and just stack the knees. This should feel good down here in your low spine. If it's hurting, then that would be a reason to uncross to make it a little bit less intense. And if your knees are like way up here in the air, it's also better to just uncross and stack them. So you get this benefit of this twist in your spine. And take some nice deep breaths. Expanding the lungs in these twists is super healthy for them. We'll be doing a focused breathing exercise at the end of pranayama, but throughout the class, remembering to take long, deep breaths. Yeah, and bring yourself back to center, recentering on the mat, hugging those knees into the chest. Okay, I'm going to give you options for this next little bit. Again, you can choose to work your abdominal muscles more or less with this, but I'm really focused on the legs. So you can take a block and put it under your low back, and you're just going to be extending your legs. You could do without anything. You can sit on your hands, and you'll just find a place that's comfortable for your legs. So closer to your body is going to take the tension off of your abs. Further away is going to make this more of an abdominal engagement. If you choose to do that, just make sure you're engaging the abs to protect the back. If you wanted to really make this intense, you could come up to a shoulder stand, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate it on the block, but you just decide what works for you. Straight legs. Feet just comfortable. You can point them or flex them, but for a lot of us that will cause cramping, so just you can relax your feet. We're going to open them. You can go as low as you want them to go. I'm hitting the wall, so I can't go so low on that side. But let the legs drop open. Squeeze them back together. And we're just going to make some scissors. So it's an open, close, open, close. I'm going to turn for a second. I don't know if you can see me better if I face you this way. Probably not the best view, but open, close, open, close. So a little bit of tension. I've got my feet like in a demi-point, I believe as it's called in ballet, just to create some tension in the legs. The legs are nice and straight, and that's actually working these inner thighs. And again, depending on where the legs are, you're working your abs more or less. So on the block right now, I'm not working them very much at all. But if I were to lower them down, I would be working my abs more. So you decide. Like I said, I'm focusing right now on your hamstring flexibility, straightening those legs. Plus, look at all this inversion work we're doing. Legs above our heart for a lot of this is very relaxing. Good for our circulation. And if you're up in shoulder stand, well, you go. You're super inverted. And then pause up for a moment. Once again, just let the legs drop open. This is a great way to stretch the inner thighs. You've got gravity pressing down. Taking some nice deep breaths, plus you're inverted. Like I said, I'm at the wall here, so I'm only open a little ways, but you've got the legs, the feet above the heart and the head. Take a couple more breaths. Should feel quite relaxing. Unless you're in shoulder stand, in which case you're working pretty hard. And then let's squeeze those legs together. If you're on a block or ball, you can go ahead and lift off of that. Hug the knees into the chest, giving yourself a rock. And let's just rock up and down a few times. If you've got anything, any spinal reasons why you shouldn't rock, just skip this, just rock up to sit. But if it feels good on your spine to rock a few times, you can do that. Make sure you're pulling the belly button in so you're coming down on the mat in a rounded spine. You're not flopping down on the mat. And then when you're ready, roll yourself all the way up and let's come over onto hands and knees, coming into a tabletop. Press up into cat, pushing into your hands. Let your head drop down, really arch into your back. Pull that belly button up. And then sit that back into child's pose, reaching your arms forward, letting your head melt down to the mat, giving yourself a stretch. Taking a breath in and out. Rising back up, hands under shoulders, pressing into cow. So pushing the belly button down, pulling the chest back, looking forward. Taking a couple breaths. And then rounding over into cat as you sit back down into child's pose, reaching those arms forward once again. Rising back up, hands under shoulders. Walk the knees back behind you so you find a modified plank. So now you're lengthened. Elbows are turning in towards one another. Chest is slightly lifted. Gaze is out on the floor in front of you. So we don't want to be dropping through our hips here, and we don't really want to be on all fours. I mean, you're on all fours, but your back is now at an angle to the floor. Holding here, taking a couple of breaths. And we're going to lower all the way down to the mat, chest, chin, and hips. Squeeze the feet together, slide the hands out, pressing up into Sphinx. Shoulders pulling down away, belly button pulling in, squeezing the gluteal muscles. Taking a couple of deep breaths here. And releasing that down, sliding the hands back, pushing up back into all fours. Drawing the right knee into the body, extending it back behind, flexing the foot so you're really pushing that leg away. Holding and taking a breath. And then swing that leg all the way forward, planting it down in front of you, rising up, hands behind the knee, hinging forward in a low crescent lunge. So we're opening up this hip flexor. Shoulders down and back, chest lifted, maybe the gaze goes towards the ceiling. This is one of the times where, depending on your flexibility, that knee might check out over your foot, which is fine. Normally we don't want it to, but in this case it's okay because there's no weight on this knee. Bringing the hands to the mat, curl the toe under, press into a runner's lunge. This you might find you need blocks for, so you can have your hands on blocks. So your spine is lengthened. In this case, you do want knee over ankle. You don't want to be tracking out forward. And then we're going to come to a twist. So you can option to drop that knee down. If you want to keep it lifted, you may. Bringing hands to heart center, we're going to twist, bringing the left elbow to the thigh, and then see if you can bind it against the thigh, looking over the right shoulder. Again, if you want to make this more challenging, you can rise up on that back foot, straightening the back leg. Couple of deep breaths here, breathing into that twisted spine again. And then releasing that down, curl the toes under, push yourself up into a high lunge, hands at heart center. So we're pressing back through that back heel, front knee once again over the ankle. We're staying nice and lifted through here, shoulders down and back, nice and proud. Chin parallel to the floor. We're going to transition this to a warrior one by pivoting the back foot and planting it. Ooh, don't fall over like me. Keep your eyes in front of you. Bring your arms up. So front knee is bent. In my case, I don't have it quite as bent as when I was in the high lunge. Back foot is planted, and if you're not enjoying arms up, you could just bring your hands back here to heart center. Find a point to focus on in front of you. We're going to take this to humble warriors, so wherever your hands are, bring them behind your back, clasping them together, opening up towards the ceiling, and then folding over, letting the arms release down, giving yourself a shoulder stretch. And then pulling back up, arms extend up as we open this to a warrior two. So back foot stays more or less the same. Hips are open, arms are extended. If you need to walk that back foot back, that you may, if you want to bend the front knee more. Gaze is out over the front hand. Inhale, exhale. Focusing on that point in front of you. Bringing this to a side angle, arm on the thigh. Left arm reaches overhead, looking up at the ceiling. Keeping that chest open. Shoulders stacked, knees stacked. Good, pressing back up to warrior two, pivoting into your high lunge again. We're going to take this to balance, so bringing hands to heart center. We're going to do 3 balance moves in a row. First, we're going to launch into a variation of warrior three. So coming onto your right foot, step the left foot forward, and then once you're stable, I'm going to step back so I don't go off frame. Extend your left leg behind as you hinge forward. If you flex that left foot, push it away, you can create some more length. You can be anywhere here. You can be up higher here, foot just barely lifted off the floor, or you can be tilted down. But try to bring your head in line with your foot. So if your body is here, you don't want your leg way down here. Then we're going to rise up. We're going to bring that left foot into our chest. All of these you can use support. So if you want to hold the wall, if you want to put your hand on a chair, any of that is fine. Just like what we were doing on the floor, you're squeezing that left knee into your body. Taking some nice breaths, focusing. If you're wobbling, that hand is on the wall, on a chair, anything for support. And then the more challenging of our balance postures, we're going to do a standing pigeon. So you're going to cross your left leg across your right thigh, hand on wall or hands at heart center. And then see if you can bend into that knee, opening up that left thigh. You can bend as little or as much as you want, being aware of your right knee. Don't want to cause pain or discomfort. The more you bend into it, the more you press against your thigh, the more you're going to open that hip. Your decision. And then stand up, stepping that left foot down, shaking it out. Take a deep inhale, opening up towards the ceiling. Exhale, hinge forward, releasing down. Inhale, hands slide up halfway. Exhale, release, hands to mat, stepping either foot back, coming back to all fours. Too many accoutrements in my way. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips, a few moving cow cats. So inhaling through cow, exhaling through cat. Using the full breath, working that spine from the base to the crown of the head. Everyone doing one more. After your last cat, finding yourself in a neutral spine once again, belly button pulled in, back flat, elbows turning towards one another, and then extending your left leg behind you. So pushing that left leg away, holding it here. So again, we're working on that flexibility. Sometimes I'll look at myself and realize my leg is a little bit bent here. You really flex that foot, push it away, try to create that length. And then step that left foot all the way forward. Once it's planted, rising up, hands behind the left knee, and we're hinging forward. Opening up the right hip flexor this time. So it's a driving forward less than sinking down, and think about still growing tall, tall, tall through here. Chest lifted, shoulders down and back, and maybe looking towards the sky. Taking some nice deep breaths. And then hands find the mat, or like I said, hands on block. Make sure that knee comes back behind the ankle, and then lifting up into your runner's lunge. Releasing the right knee onto the mat, rising up, bringing hands to the heart center, turning into your twist. Hands at the heart, looking up over the left shoulder. Again, your option is to rise up on that back leg. Increasing the hamstring stretch, challenging the balance. This is a modification. Inhale, exhale, nice and deeply. And then releasing back down, curling the toes under if they're not already, pressing up into a runner's lunge. So it can be a nice deep bend here in the front, hips are forward, chest is lifted. Option to extend the arms. And then to transition this to Warrior One, we plant the right foot, hips still stay forward, front knees still stay bent, and then bring the hands behind the back, clasping together, opening through the chest and the shoulders, the throat, and folding forward into your humble warrior. Rising back up, transitioning to Warrior Two, so the right arm reaches back. Walking that right foot back, if that's helpful, bending the front knee but staying lifted, so we're not leaning forward, you're still over the center line of your body. Looking out over the front hand. Finding your strength, finding that stillness. Side angle bend, left hand to the thigh, or left arm rather. Reaching the right arm overhead, looking up towards the ceiling. Think about stacking shoulders, stacking hips. So it's like you're between two panes of glass here. Keeping a nice bend in the front leg. Good, and then release that. Turning, pivoting. We're going to launch onto this front leg now. So hands at heart center, so you can step the right foot forward. I'm just going to scooch back again. Once you're stable, go ahead and hinge forward, lifting that right leg, pushing it away, finding your version of this Warrior Three. Again, hand can be on the wall. Arms can be extended if that helps your balance. You decide what you need to do. It's better to have your hand on the wall than be falling over, right? Because then you're still balancing on one foot. When you're ready, pulling up to standing, hugging that right knee into your chest. The movement might cause you to destabilize, so go ahead and grab hold if you need. And then your challenge option, bringing that leg across the thigh, hands at heart center, sinking into your pigeon. Bending the knee as much as you want, but trying to press the hips back to protect the knee. Trying to open up that right thigh, feeling the stretch. And then rising up, placing that foot on the floor, shaking it out. Deep inhale. And exhale, coming to standing, hands at heart center. All right, from here, take an inhale, extending upwards. Exhale, hinging forward, releasing down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Bend the knees, placing the hands on the mat, and step the left foot back, coming to a runner's lunge. Plant the left foot as if you're rising up into Warrior One. So it's pivoted at an angle. But now we're going to walk the hands out into this modified downward facing dog. So it's a lunge and a down dog. So you're reaching out to your left side as the right foot is planted, releasing the head. Knee over ankle, pressing into the pinky edge of that left foot. And if it's too much, as always, blocks are so helpful. Maybe you need to be more lifted and you use your blocks there. Completely 100% fine. We're going to walk this to the center. So you're going to straighten your right leg as you walk to the center and turn both feet parallel. Your hands are still probably a little ways out in front of you, but just protect your shoulders. You don't want to be going into the shoulders. Release the head down and push your hips back. So you're reaching forward a little bit to create that traction, and you're really pushing back so your weight is in your heels. And hopefully you feel this creating a stretch up the side of the legs. Take a couple deep breaths. We're going to take this to the other side. So pivot the left foot out, pivot the right foot slightly in, bend into the left knee, and walk the hands out now on this side. So you're in your down dog stretch on this side. Knee over ankle. You could have walked with the blocks, so if you still need them, they're there. Never feel like using the blocks is a bad thing. And then walk those hands back. So now you're in a runner's lunge on this side. Again, the blocks could be there and be using those. Totally fine. And then step the right foot forward, forward fold. Bend the knees here so you drop your hips, releasing some of that tension in the hamstrings. And let's just roll up one vertebra at a time. Deep inhale, extending the arms upwards. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Placing the hands on the mat, step the right foot back. Pressing into your runner's lunge, and then rise up once again into this high lunge. Arms extending up. And we're going to twist here. Left arm goes back, right arm goes forward, staying nice and lifted, pushing through the right heel. Nice deep bend in the left knee. And then we're going to open this up, coming all the way around, standing up. Feet are forward. And then rotate the toes out, heels in. You can walk your feet a little bit closer if you would like. Hands at heart center. And we're going to come down into our goddess. So we're sitting back. Once again, trying to bring knees over ankles. Real hard for me in this posture. And really pressing out. Opening through these thighs, trying to track the knees over the toes. Super challenging. Sitting up nice and tall. All right, we're going to do a little bit of abdominal work. I'm going to give you two options. It's going to be harder to do here in our squat. Slightly easier to do here with legs extended. I give you the option, and you can move between them. Wherever you are, bring your hands behind your head. Trying to stay nice and tall through here. This is a combination of oblique work as well as just stretching our spine. We're going to bend to one side. Inhale, come back through center. Exhale, bend to the other side. Inhale, back through center. If you're doing legs straight, it looks like this. Bend to the side. Inhale, back to center. Exhale. Inhale, back to center. Your option. Either way, you're getting a spinal stretch. Either way, you're getting some oblique work. You're just adding some gluteal work if you're in the squat. Just depends on how hard you want to work today. Because for the most part, the idea of tonight's practice isn't to work you really hard. But I'm always happy to get some glute work in. One more time each side. Releasing the hands, bring them back to heart center. And then if your legs are bent, go ahead and stand up out of your squat. Turn your feet forward, parallel, and then hinge forward, and this time just release. Let the head drop down, let the arms be heavy. Take a couple breaths. Pivoting the toes out one more time. Bend the knees so your hands can find the floor. And then just make little squats, little lunges from side to side. Hinging to one side, hinging the other. And your hands are just there to support you. If you want to pause, Feeling a stretch through your inner thigh, you can do that. And come back to center. Heel toe your feet together till they're about hips distance apart. Heels in, toes out, knees are still bent, hands are still on the floor. And we're going to lower this down all the way into a deep squat. And if that does not work for you, another good moment for the block, because you can sit on your block. If you don't need the block, what we want to try to do is drop the glutes down and sit tall so that you're not rounded over. If you're here, you're better off coming to a block, and then you can sit up. And then your hands, your arms rather, are pressing against your thighs, opening up. And if this is painful, if this hurts, then come out of it, or just come higher. Sitting on the blocks, anyone can do it sitting on blocks. You just might have to stack a few blocks, and then you work into it. The more you do it, the more your knees and your hips will open up and help you get into it. This is one of those things that all kids can do. They just do it naturally. But as we sit in chairs, as we sit in cars, as we move about, we lose this ability. So, not to say you can't get it back. Couple more deep breaths. And then go ahead and release that. We're just going to come to standing once again. So walk your feet so they're parallel, right into the hips, and just release your head. This time trying to straighten the legs as much as you can. Grab hold of opposite elbows, let your head be heavy. Maybe bouncing a wee bit to shake it out. Maybe swaying if that feels good. You decide. And again, bending the knees, letting the hips drop, letting the head be heavy. So it's a pretty deep bend here. Spine is really rounded over. And then we're going to restack. Rolling up one vertebra at a time until we come all the way to standing. Bring the feet right underneath the hips. Take an inhale, extending the arms upwards, rising up on tippy toes. So you're on the balls of your feet. Shoulders are pulling down. If you're losing your balance, just grab hold of a wall or a chair. Bring hands to heart center. This is one more challenge option. You can stay up on the balls of your feet, or you can drop onto your heels and be flat-footed. Your decision. And we're going to bend our knees, and we're going to come into chair. So up on toes or flat feet, you decide. Chest stays lifted. Hips are back, spine is long, gaze is forward. 5, 4, 3, long breaths. 2, 1, heels find the floor, bending over, releasing all the way down. Inhale, slide the hands up your shins, holding here in Ardha Uttanasana. Back flat. I always think when we do this that we look like that old thing that we used to use in geometry, those of us who are old enough to remember. I don't know, do kids still use those things? Anyway, I think it's just called a triangle. But it kind of looked like this. You want your knees and your hips over your ankles. And you want the legs straight but not locked. This is an easy one to lock your knees on, those of you who have hypermobility of the knees, so just be aware of that. And then release all the way down again. Bending the knees, hands find the mat. Bringing one knee down, bringing the other knee down. A couple of cow-cats. Inhaling. And exhaling. Let's maybe do 3 all together. And once you've done your third one, arch up, give yourself an extra stretch in that cat. And then sit back on the heels. This time opening up your knees. So your toes are together, your knees are apart, in a resting warrior. So your arms stretch forward as your head comes down. And now your spine's going to be more elongated than round. Different type of stretch. I feel this more in my upper back. You might feel it more in your low back. And then walking yourself back up. Coming to sitting. So coming to some of the same postures we've done in different positions, we're going to do one last stretch with our hamstrings. So extending both legs out in front of you, drawing one knee up, bringing that foot to the inner thigh, releasing the knee down. So try to keep to the front. It's real easy to kind of rotate here. So see if you can keep square to the front. Inhale as the arms extend up. Exhale, coming out over that extended leg. And if you want to bring the opposite arm across, you can. And maybe grab your calf or your ankle. Maybe it reaches all the way to the foot. Maybe your hands just come right beside your leg. If you can, you start to release that down, letting go of the head, the neck, the back. Letting your body weight bring you down gently without forcing it. Breathing into the back. Again, anytime you flex your foot, it's going to stretch your hamstring more, so if it feels okay to flex your left foot. Same thing, if you have a belt, these things are super handy. You can pull back there, get an extra deep stretch, get some stretch in your low back. And then bringing yourself up, I'm going to change the right leg, leave the left leg extended, or whichever leg is extended, doesn't matter. We're going to come into a runner stretch, so bending that right knee behind. So ideally you want your knee in front of your hip, but for a lot of us that won't work with our knees, so you may need to move it out. If this doesn't work at all, just go back to where we just were and you can do that one again. No trouble. Take an inhale. Exhale, hinging forward, coming out over that front leg. Once again, releasing down. And notice how this one feels different. Do you stretch more? Do you stretch less? And then rising back up. We're going to do the other side. I'm just going to turn this way this time. So extending the opposite leg, whichever one you didn't do. Bringing the opposite one up on the thigh. Turning so that you're forward. Releasing that leg down. Take an inhale as you lift up. Think about growing tall through the spine. The lift up to start is not for nothing. We grow really, really, really tall. We extend. And then we think about reaching forward like you're trying to grab your foot, even if you can't grab your foot. And then release down into this. Again, you can reach the opposite arm across. You'll feel a stretch here through your side body. One more deep breath in and out. And then coming up, we're going to transition, same thing. So bending that knee behind. If it might work on one side and not on the other. So that's totally fine if you can do it on one side, not the other. Again, knee in front of the hip, modifying it to go out a little bit if you need to. Squaring your hips. Inhale, extend that spine up, flexing the extended leg. And releasing down, or the foot rather, on the extended leg. And again, notice any differences. Is one easier than the other on one leg, but harder on the other leg? None of that's bad, it's just observation. Maybe pondering why, but not necessarily to change it, just to be aware of it, to think about it. As you're in your practice, those little differences. And then rising up, extending both legs in front, shaking them out, flexing your feet. Inhale, interlace the fingers to lift tall, and just bend side to side, like we did a moment ago, but you won't go quite as far. Just a little bend to one side, little bend to the other side. Back to center, grow tall, and reach forward. So reach the fingertips forward, extend through the spine, long, long spine until you can't reach forward anymore. And then release down, letting the back go, letting the spine round, letting the head drop. As always, grabbing hold of ankles, calves, or feet if you want to deepen up. Certainly using the strap as well is an option. And then walking yourself up. Bending your knees, holding onto the backs of your thighs, pulling the belly button in as you roll all the way down, one vertebra at a time. Moving my strap out of the way. Bring your knees into your chest, giving yourself a little hug and a little rock. Pressing the hands onto the mat, bringing the feet onto the mat, pulling the belly button in, shoulders down and back, chin to chest. We're just going to peel up and down to a shoulder bridge. So pulling that belly button in as you tilt your hips, lift your spine, one vertebra at a time, and exhale as you lower back down. Inhale to tilt up to lift. Exhale to lower back down. Inhale to tilt up. Exhale down. I'm going to make you work one last time. Inhale to tilt up, hold it. Walk your feet together. Press really high up so you're on your shoulders, palms are on the mat. Squeeze your knees together and then open your knees and squeeze them back together. So creating a little bit of resistance here as you squeeze in. You should be feeling some work in your glutes. You could also just do this supported on a block. Opening up, so we're getting a stretch as we open and then we're squeezing in against resistance. So if you really want to burn out your glutes, you could do like 50 of these. We're not going to do that tonight. Just want to do a little bit of inner thigh work again. One last stretch on those hips. Last time, walk the feet back out to hip distance and then slowly one vertebra at a time. Lower them back down. And release. Coming into happy baby, hands in between legs, grabbing hold of feet or ankles, giving yourself a little rock as you massage your back, rocking side to side. Bringing your hands under you, so you're in a little ball, lift up so you're sitting on top of your hands, extend your legs one last time, flexing your feet. Press the right heel away, pushing it all the way down. It probably won't go to the floor. You'll feel your abs start to tighten. You don't want your back to arch. I just want you to stretch your leg and then pull that leg back up. And then press the other leg down. Maybe it goes to the floor, but for most of us it won't. And come back up. Again, I'm not trying to burn out your abs here. I'm trying to give you a nice stretch of the leg. Really lengthen that muscle. And press down. Inhale up. Last time, exhale, press the right leg away. Inhale, pull it back up. Left leg, push it away. Inhale, pull it back up. Point the toes, lower both legs down. And when you can't go anymore without hurting your back, bend your knees. And then extend the legs. Give yourself a stretch, stretch the arms overhead. And come on down. I'm going to give you the option to come into butterfly if you want. Totally your option. I'm going to show you how you can use the blocks for this, if that feels good too. It can be a nice relaxation. So if you want to use the blocks, they come right here and they support your legs, but then you might find you can move them out. And then just let your arms come out to the side. If you don't want to do a butterfly, you just want to come to Savasana, that's fine too. You decide, arms out to the side, palms up, chin towards chest. Take an inhale. Open your mouth, let it go. And then wherever you are, just allow yourself to watch your breath. Inhaling through the nose. Exhaling through the nose. Allow yourself to sink into the mat. Letting go of any and all tension that you're holding, physical, emotional, mental. If any thoughts come into your mind, as you exhale, let them go. Just release. Allow your legs to go heavy. Allow your arms to go heavy. Allow your eyelids to go heavy. Inhale. Exhale to relax. To finish our class, we're going to do a pranayama, a breathing exercise. It is your option. If you want to stay where you are, you can do this lying down, particularly because it's evening. If you want to deepen your relaxation. If you'd like to do this from a seated position, you can go ahead and slowly bring yourself up, finding a comfortable sit. It's absolutely your decision. So 5 minutes might seem sort of like an eternity, but I promise it's not. And this breathing exercise is meant to be a relaxation, so it's going to be an inhale for a 4 count through the nose, and an exhale for a 6 count also through the nose, or if you prefer, you can blow it out really gently through your lips. So there's your inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale. Om Shanti Om. Namaste.